Hi everyone, I'm Timosha. Thanks for watching my video. Today we're going to talk about how I use Trade Skill Master, better known as TSM.
Hello, I like money.
Alright guys, so I've been wanting to make this video for a little while because of how important TSM is to gold making. Now it is true, you can make gold without using TSM at all. I did for a little while, but what is also absolutely true is that it will be much more efficient and much faster if you use TSM, which is why we're talking about it. Now, I will break this down in a couple sections. I'm going to timestamp them below. So we're going to start out with groups. If you feel like, hey, I know all about groups, feel free to skip ahead. I am going to put it all together at the end, kind of in a practical application section. I'm basically going to show you me using it to buy and sell some items at the auction house. So hopefully you watch the video. Stick around for that. If you do want to jump ahead again, feel free to check on the timestamps below. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is groups. Before we talk about though, I just want to point out there's a lot of really cool mounts around in Orc today. There's a Brutosaur, which never shows up on the black market anymore. There's a pretty cool PvP one over here flying around, a Corpse Fly. This dude's on one of the Infinite ones. Cool stuff. Alright, TSM groups. Let's take a look here. All right, so the first thing you do with TSM, so we're just going to say it's a fresh load that you've never opened it up before. So the first thing you want to do is go to the settings. Now, there's a couple things in here to pay attention to. So just kind of going down the list is you don't want to mess with this DB market. We'll just leave that as it is. The chat tab. Now, if you want to set it up like mine with an AH sales tab or an AH tab, you got to just create a tab with the WoW UI or whatever chat add-on you're using, and then you just select where you want to put where the system's going to tell you when items are sold at the AH. Now, I will let you know sometimes the gold amount isn't correct, especially if you have multiple items up, like multiple levels of the legendaries. Sometimes it'll just say, don't freak out about that. If it says you sold a level 7 legendary for 5,000 gold, if you put it up for 50,000 gold or whatever, it's going to be right. But then you just select which tab you want that stuff to go to. I have this tab which only has that stuff essentially, and apparently if I go okay, it tells me that. So pick whatever you'd like, of course. And now the profiles, so you can have different profiles. I was concerned about something, so I just have one. I made this one that says backup. I did not actually end up needing it, but so that's why there's two. You can make more. So if you have multiple characters that you want to have different profiles, different operations, different groups on, you can certainly do that if you'd like to. Scrolling down a little here, the account sync is if you have multiple accounts. So I have a second account, you want to connect those. That allows the system, TSM, to then say, like, if it's telling you need 10 callous hide and it's on your second account character, it's not going to tell you to go buy it or something or farm it or whatnot. It's going to say it's on your other character. Go get it from your other character. So very helpful to do that, the account syncing. I had a little bit of trouble with setting it up. I know there's also a little bit of delay, so I happen to know it says it's all connected. The gold's a little off on the dashboard. It's not a big deal, but it's still very helpful. Everything else is working excellent with it. So settings, that's kind of the first couple things you want to do. Second, you want to go to macros. Now, this just makes life so much easier when you're doing different things here. So the first you'll see is the My Auctions Cancel button and the auction posting. Now, I mentioned kind of in the intro there that there's a lot of things I'm not super familiar with. So like the shopping, I know what some of this stuff is, but I don't use it, so I don't have them set up for macros. As you get used to the system more, you may set up these other ones. For now, I have these set up for the scroll wheel down. You can actually select both if you want. I have a modifier because I want one. I just like to have one to click. And so this will allow me to move faster when I want to cancel or post items. And I'll demonstrate that later on. Groups. So there's a couple different ways to make groups. So the first and the simplest way is pretty straightforward. Now, again, pretend this is a fresh load. All that's going to be on a fresh load is just going to say base group up here. So none of the stuff below it. You just hit the plus icon. It's going to create a new group. You can change the name if you want. Thought about what we're going to do here, so I'm changing it to Shadow Steel. And then here's the ungrouped items that are in your bag currently. So I have a lot more in my bag, but this is what's not in a group already in my bag. So if I wanted to, I could say, okay, I'm going to take the curing salt. I check mark it, add it. There it is. Easy enough. So that's items already in your bag. Now, if you need items that are not in your bag. Now I name that shadow steel. So we're going to pretend I'm a blacksmith. So you'll go up to base group and you'll start searching for what you want. So I'm going to search for shadow steel. And then I can just pick, whichever item I wanted to. So if I want the 117 Shadow Steel Arm Guards with the 1414 Crit and Mastery, I check mark it, select the group I want to move it to. Oh, I forgot to actually hit enter on it, so it still says new group. That's fine. And hit move item. Now what you'll find in my new group, which I'm going to correctly name now, Shadow Steel, enter, there we go. You can see now it has the Shadow Steel Arms Guard. Now I'm going to remove this. So you just hit the remove button, that's easy enough. So let's go back here, because what's very important is you saw a bunch of stuff pop up, right? Now, I don't actually care about all this other stuff, right? There's lots of different levels. Most of the lower level stuff, it can sell. I don't think most of it's profitable. I'm not in that market, but in general, from what I've noticed, it's usually not. So let's just say all I want to do is the 262 gear. So the highest level gear that you can make, right? There it is, 262 arm guards. There's all sorts of stuff. I don't want to, you could go through here and pick them out, but what you'll notice, both of these are 262. It's because they have different stats. I don't want to have to go through here and pick each different stat item like that. Up here where it says show results as, hit item level. And then this is TSM's way of showing you, okay, so you scroll down, you find the 262 Shadow Steel Arm Guards. If I select that and add that, it's now going to recognize all of the arm guards that are 262, regardless of what their stats are. So I don't need to go through and have, 4 or 5 different items of Shadow Steel Arm Guards. I just have that one. It will recognize it. That's important to do. That messes people up sometimes because they go and they select one of the 262 or whatever level, and it's haste and crit, and then later on, versatility and crit pops up. Well, it's not going to catch that because you didn't select versatility and crit. You had haste and crit. So that's something that you just want to make sure you keep an eye out for. So that's another way of adding individual items with that search. Now, another way. Let me pull this up over here. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just, I should have come a little more prepared for this. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go to Wowhead. And then I don't think I have it saved. So we're going to go to tradeskillmaster.com, their group maker. Now, this gives you a way, a little more versatility and getting items added. So you can kind of filter it some in a way that makes more sense for you. What you can do with the group website is basically copy and paste over from Wowhead, and there's a couple other places. I use Wowhead, so that's what I'm going to show you. You can copy and paste over the items you want, right? So, for example, let's say I have identified a market of pets that a bunch of people in my server want to buy, the Mr. Pandaria pets. So you've probably seen on here the database where you can see different items and stuff. So in this case, I'm going to go to items. I happen to know category is miscellaneous, and then companions for pets. I don't know why I don't just call them pets, but we're going to click companions. Now it brings this up. Now you can see, well, there's a lot of companions. This is all of the pets in the game. Well, I don't want all that. So what I want to do is go to filters. And the first thing I want to do is go to binds when picked up. A lot of pets are bought. I want to make this no, because I don't want bind on pickup. I'm not getting pets for myself. I'm trying to get pets to sell them to other people for a bunch of gold. Now, the other thing is, I don't need all these other pets. I just need the ones that came out. They were added in Mist Pandaria. And then the final one, I don't think this changes the Mist one, but it can with some of the other ones. A lot of people miss this one. it's got to be available to players. Make sure that's on there. Otherwise, it's going to show you some stuff that might have been removed or just simply isn't available anymore. Maybe it was a limited time sort of deal or something. So I got all the 3 of the ones I want. Apply filter. Excellent. So I got 1 to 29. So these are all the pets that were added in Mr. Pandaria that are currently available to players. And they are not bind on pickup. So if I get these, however you get them, I can sell them. Then I can put them on the AH and sell them to people. So I got my list of items. Now my next step is I need to copy and paste all of these. So I highlight them, which can sometimes be a pain or like click it. But you highlight them. Control C to copy, Control V to paste over here. Boom. Now, if you're logged in, and I believe you may have to have premium, you can save your groups actually on the Trade Skill Master website. I'm sure it's great. I am not a premium member, and I'm not going to do that. I don't have a need to, so I am just going to then copy this. I'm going to highlight and copy this string. We're going to go back into our game, and let's create a new group for this. And to do that, you'll click Import Group. So you don't hit the plus button. Right above it, it says Import Group. Boom. I hit Control V to paste it. Imported group. I hit Import. Down here, Imported Group, and you can see all of our mop pets. Now our group is set up for this to help us in the AH to buy and sell. You can change the name up here. I'm going to change it to Mop Pets. That's how you add and remove grouped items. That covers it all. So let's move on to operations. All right, so next up is going to be operations. So if groups are the backbone, I'd say the operations are the engine that kind of makes everything go in the system. Now, there's a couple different operations we'll set up here. And again, keep in mind, some of it may not 100% make sense until we get to the part where we actually do some of the things. So it's like, oh yeah, we set that up and it made it do this. Now we're going to start out with the auctioning operations. Now let me trash this one. It's something I was testing with earlier. So let's go here to my drums and armor auction operation. And then we'll go through each setting and kind of what it means and what it does. Now, the first setting is pretty self-explanatory, I think, auction duration. So you got 3 options, 12, 24, 48. That's the WoW durations. Now, for legendary items and most of the stuff I sell, this really doesn't matter. I generally keep it at 12. This might be something you put at 48 if you're selling mounts or rare pets, things like that, because those usually don't sell right away. Sometimes you don't have any competition, so you're not canceling and reposting them. You might keep them up for the full 48. So pick whichever one is best for you. Then the next one is post cap. So this is just how much you want to post at once. Now there's various reasons you may want to post more of different items, so you'll decide that for whatever items you're selling. Now in this case, I named this drums and armor. This is for the deathly drums and then the heavy desolate armor. And it is also for feasts as well. So they stack in groups of 20. Now, I only want to post them 20 at a time, so I don't want to have multiple posts of 20. Even if I have a bunch more, I just want to do one group at a time. That's how I like to sell these. They generally will then get undercut, so you're canceling and reposting. I don't see a reason to post, 100 of them, 5 stacks of 20, just to have them all undercut for any particular reason. So in this particular one, we have it set up with a post cap of 20. Now, amount kept in bags. For me, it's 0. I don't really do much else these days, so I don't have a reason to keep these. If I need them for some reason, I can make them. But maybe there's a reason that you do want to keep it. So you would just want to make sure for your own uses, you keep some of the feasts. So you might put this at 10 or 20 or whatever number is good for you. So again, this is all relevant to you and which items you're selling and if you want to keep any in your bag. So it will always keep that minimum. If you put 10, then 10 will always stay in your bag, at least. Don't post after this many expires. Again, that's something for legendaries, really. But this is for items that take longer to sell. Maybe you post something for 100,000 gold or a very rare mount, and you're hoping the right buyer's out there, and you post it. But if you keep posting and reposting it, and it expires 10 times, maybe that's going to be your clue that, okay, you're going to post it for less now because you can't find 100,000. Maybe you post for 80,000. So you may want to put a number there depending on what you're selling. Okay, now the posting price is where it gets really important, of course. So set bid as a percentage of buyout is not as important. You're probably just going to put that at 100% for most things. Most things you're not taking bids on, so you're just trying to get them to be bought out. So you probably don't want to really move this around too much, unless you are taking bids and you want it to be something different. Feel free. Undercut amount. Now, these days, WoW uses a LIFO system that's last in, first out. That just simply means you don't need to undercut to be put at the top of the list. If I post an item for the same exact amount as my competitors, mine bumps to the top of the list. So most people don't generally undercut unless they feel like there's something going on with the market and they need to, because we'll talk about that in a minute here with some of the other pricings. But generally, 0 is your best option for the undercut amount. Okay, minimum price. So you can see here I have 50% DB market. Now, DB market is just the database for TSM. Now, when you set up a new auction, I'm going to show this to you. So when you set up a new one, you're going to see all sorts of stuff here. Now, some of the best advice I ever got on this is that you should make these make sense to you. So if you don't understand this, you're not getting it. If you look it up and you don't want to learn exactly what this minimum price, check this first. Okay, if it's that, then do a max of this, depending on what the crafting amounts are. It's all very confusing. So make it make sense to you, right? So let me trash this one. Yes, I do. Go back here. So what makes sense to me? Okay, the minimum price I want to sell these for is then 50% of their market value. So 50% of DB market. That's the TSM market. So that's the minimum price I'm going to sell it at. You can also put numbers in there like the undercut amount is 0C. If you, I don't really recommend this because you never know how the market's going to move. And if you have a set amount of like 50 gold or 100 gold or whatever, that's not going to move with the market, right? It's always going to be that. But I think 50% DB market makes sense. And I use that with the maximum price. Now, a lot of people are like, well, wait a second. Why are you putting a maximum price on it? Don't you just want to sell it for as much as possible? Well, sure. I want to sell everything for as much as possible. But does everybody want to buy it for that amount is the real question. So this is important for situations where the market is overvaluing items. So for instance, earlier today when I first logged in, a couple of the Bone Shatter legendaries were way overpriced. Somebody had bought up. They were selling like for 30, 40,000. Someone had bought the ones that were up there, and then they started reposting them for like 150, 160,000. Now that's fine if people are willing to pay that amount for it. I don't think they are. So I have 300. I know my legendary one is 200% of the market value. So when I went to post mine, they were posting about 150. 200% of the market value of those items was about 80,000 gold. So I was posting them for 80,000. Now that person might think I'm a jerk. Why am I posting them for less? But I really don't think people are just going to buy them for that amount. And so why would I constantly post and repost something I don't think is going to get bought for a large amount that doesn't make sense? Now, if they did sell for 150,000, then I lost myself some money. But that's how it goes. But that's a reason you may want to have a maximum price on there. Okay, so the next item is the normal price. Now, this is a lot of people get confused on this. I know this because I was one of them. I was totally wrong about this. I think I mentioned something in my last video about how I kind of thought the API didn't work quite well with it. Technically what I said is true because there is a bit of a delay in the API, but has nothing to do with this. I was really just wrong about it in the end. So the normal price is the amount you want to post your item for if there are no other items for sale. So this is especially true for, mounts and pets, things like that. So if you go to post your rare pet and nobody else is selling it, TSM needs to know how much you want to sell it for. So if you put it like here, I want to sell it for 110% of what the market value is. And I'll hope there's a buyer out there who will pay a little bit higher than market value, since mine's the only one that you can buy. So if they really, really want it, they're going to have to pay it or decide to hold off until another one comes out there. Now, that puts us in a position though, okay, well, what if there are items out there, then what is it getting posted at? Because it's not getting posted at the normal price. We know that because that's only if no other items are for sale. As long as your competitors have a price out there in the AH that is below your maximum and above your minimum, it will post it at that price. So as an example is Bone Shatter Helms. So my maximum was 200%. So that was like 80,000 gold. My minimum was, I'm not exactly sure what it is. We'll just say it's 20,000 gold. So as long as the items that are for sale right now are between that, let's say there's a few of them up for 50,000, that's what TSM will post it for when I go to post it. If they're 40,000, it'll post it at 50,000. Now, if someone does post it above 80,000, well, then it'll post it at 80,000. Not the higher amount, it's going to post it at 80,000, my maximum. If somebody has it posted for 19,000, it's not going to post it because it's below my minimum and it's not going to post below my minimum. So that's how the auction operation works. So I'm just going to show you and scroll through here again. This is for my drums and armor. So if somebody does want to kind of just take these and copy them. And then I'm going to show, this is my legendary one. So you can see my numbers are quite a bit smaller on this. I only like to post one at a time for these because I know I'm going to cancel it or it's going to sell. There's generally, I feel, no reason to put two. Some people do put multiple posts up at once. I know for sure they do. Their hope is that there's some time lag between when somebody else is cancel scanning. So if you post 3 of them and your competitors don't cancel scan for 2, 3, 4 minutes, maybe 2, 3, or 4 people will buy your items. So that's a thing. That's a consideration. That's not how I do it. So my post cap is 1. I certainly don't need any left in my bags for any particular reason. It's not going to expire. Here's bids, the undercut amount. My minimum price is 10% of the market. 200% is the max, and then the normal price, of course, there's always these items for sale, so it doesn't end up applying. All right, crafting operations. So again, I have 3 set up here for the drums, armors, and the feast, and I'll start with that one since it's at the top, and it's a little more interesting too, I think. All right, so restocking. So we're going to go over what this looks like later on in the crafting section. But for the operation here, for these items, I have a minimum restock quantity of 40 and a maximum restock quantity of 100. So here's how to consider these 2 items. So the minimum restock quantity. So TSM is asking, okay, when you're going to make these items, when should I start making them? When should I say, okay, we're going to restock you? So if I only need 30 to get up to 100, it's not going to be part of the operation. So if I have 70 of the feasts in my inventory or on auction, TSM's going to say, well, you're not at 100, so you're not at your max amount, but I only need to make 30 to get you to your max amount. We're not going to do it. So when I sell some more, if I get down to 60 or below, then it's going to say, you know what? Now we can make 40 or more, and you have less than 100 total. Let's go ahead and start making them. What this does, the reason I have it set here, is it prevents it helps kind of, it's efficiency thing, right? Feast, drums, and stuff, they actually take a while to make. You make them individually, not in whole stacks of like 20. You can't just select 20 and then, okay, you make 20 all at once in just one go. It's you select 20 and then it makes one. Takes a while, takes a lot of stuff to make too, a lot of materials. So if I wanted to have 100, but every time I fell below 100, like say this was 0 minimum restock quantity, I want to keep 100 and have that. I would constantly be needing to make them. That's all I would do. So that doesn't make sense. So this just means when it gets down to 60 or less, then I can restock it. And then I have to buy a whole bunch of materials all at once, and it does take a little bit of time, but at least I'm not constantly doing it. I'm doing it in one go. And so you can move this around as you want. Set minimum profit, I select no. This would with the crafting module, it will give you a recommendation. It'll tell you, is this profitable to make? And on most things, honestly, it says no, it's not. Um, I will go over why there's a part of that doesn't work properly, that I know doesn't work properly for sure. But I also, just in general, if I'm going to make it, I feel like I want to make it. It's not an automated thing. I still got to click a button. So if I know it's going to be not worth it, then I'm not going to make it. There are situations this might make sense for you, though, on the things that the crafting module is working with the profit appropriately. So something to consider. Same with the crafting value. It adjusts how it values items when calculating the profit. So it has its own default way. You can override that. Again, I think it's with the legendary items. I'm not sure. It may have been fixed by now. Who knows? But there's a question about, I think it values it at the base item, not at the rank level. So it constantly tells me, for instance, my rank 7 items are not going to be profitable. And of course they are. And I understand there might be a way to kind of make this so it will value them correctly. One of those things I've told you before, I don't know everything about TSM. It's just outside of it. Doesn't really affect me, I think, so I don't worry about it right now. Maybe in the future will. Here's some management options. I do not use these, so I would disconnect it. So you could see this is where I have some of my other characters on, so I could ignore this operation on certain realms. I could ignore it on certain characters. Don't want to do any of that. And then here's where you apply it to a group. So you click the button, you could select the group. We went over in the group section how to move. You can also go over to a group and select the operations and then override it if you want. All right, so that's for the Drums of the Feast. And then you can also see the legendaries. Again, I keep this, minimum restock quantity is 1, maximum is 2. This is just saying I like to have 2 legendary items. Generally 1 auctioning and then 1 in my inventory to post in case it sells, or I cancel scan so I can repost it right away. All the other things are the same. So no crafting value. And then the vestige. So this is when I choose to use this. I actually don't really use this one all that often. But if I just said, okay, I want to restock these to have some, because, I usually just make them as I go, which some people don't. They do keep quantities for various reasons. But then I will make it up to 20. And then same with the other options. So these are the operations that I use. You can see there's a few other ones about warehousing, shopping, mailing. This is if you have characters you're mailing stuff through. Lots of people do. Again, I don't use those, so we're not going to go over those. These are just the 2 I use in my setup that you'll see kind of in practice here shortly. And as a matter of fact, I think that's the next thing we'll go over is kind of the crafting section and then putting all this into practice. So let's start with the crafting. Okay, so we got our groups together, got our operations set up. And now if you're like me and you craft to sell items on the age, we need to craft some items. Now I'm going to combine this here with just my daily routine. So this is kind of my demonstration, kind of all goes together. And we'll see what we got. All right, so your first step is you need to open up the crafting module. You can do that either by typing /TSM space crafting, or just open up one of your professions. In this case, I'm going to open up leatherworking, and you'll see this screen. Now, we're on the crafting screen. This is in place of the WoW UI, and it can be pretty busy looking, so let's go through things. Now, some of it's going to be pretty obvious. You're going to see your list of recipes here. You'll see the little star icon. If you do want to favorite something so it pops up at the top, feel free to do that. You'll see up here is your selection, so you can pick which one you want to do, whether, for me, if it's tailoring, cooking. So we're going to stick to leatherworking right now. You can search your patterns, so that's pretty nice. Here's where you can reset some of the filters. I don't really use that, but it's an option. And then over here, you'll see some information about how many items you can do. the rank of those items, so you can see my legendaries are max, and it has some profit information. Now, this is not correct. I've talked about this a little before. I think there's a way to do some custom pricing. This just isn't right. So I, am making money selling these. If I understand what the problem is, it's something with the database where it's basing the sale amount, the market amount on the base item. So it says, okay, you got to spend all these materials to make it, but you're only going to sell it for what the rank 1 item or something is. It's just the way I understand it. So that's not entirely accurate. Just keep that in mind when you're deciding to craft items. And if you want to look into how to fix that, I think there are some guides out there about custom pricing. Some people do it, some don't. I don't. Okay, here you're going to see the item I have selected, Heavy Callus Hide. You'll see it says missing materials, and it tells you how many you have and how many you need. So I would need some materials to do this. Now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to select Desolate Hide. So let's say I needed to make that. It's pretty straightforward. You see it's already set on 1. I can just hit craft, and it's going to craft it. I could up this to 2 and hit craft. It'll craft 2. The other option is just click craft all. It's going to start crafting as many as I can. So that's just the basics of this module. Now, your next option is to queue an item. So let's say I need to make 50 of these. I can queue it. So it queues it up over here. It says how many I want, how many I can make, 50 out of 50. I'm in good shape. And then I could just hit craft next and it would craft it. It's not really the point of queuing though, right? So, because let's just say I need to make 50 of these plus some other items to craft some other item. So then, hey, maybe I need some vestiges of the Eternals. So I know I can't make 50, so I'm just going to say 5. I can queue that. And I can queue as many items as I want here. It does give you the estimated profit. Again, keep in mind it's not necessarily accurate. But so I've got these queued. Now what I can do is just hit craft next, and it's going to start crafting them in the order that I've queued them. Once I'm done with that, I will have to hit craft next. So it's not just a put 20 things in there and it will automatically craft them. You still got to click the button when each item is done. So I'll demonstrate. Let me just go ahead and complete this. All right, did those. Now craft next. It's going to start doing the 50 of those. And if I have more items, craft next, so on and so forth. So that's the basics of the crafting module. And the queue is a really important tool to use. Now just hit clear all to get that. Now we've made all these groups and operations. So how does that interact with this module? So if you go to TSM groups here, so you have your crafting list, TSM groups, you can see all the lists I made, including the one we had made earlier. Now we're going to work with the groups I have since I'm doing a demonstration here as well. So I've kind of been leaving this out, so this will pop up a bunch of stuff for the demonstration here. So I have legendary, that's my legendary group selected. I hit restock selected group. And you can see it queues up all of the legendary items in that group. That's awesome. I actually have the material to make a bunch of them. I don't have, this is the tailoring, I don't have all the materials here. So what I need to do, and I can tell that I don't actually have the material to make all of those. This just means looking at it, I have 5 vestiges of the Eternal. I would only be able to make a max of 5 of these, and it can vary. This is just saying if I click on one of these, it'll make it, and I can make it. Here's what we do, though, to know, well, okay, so that's nice. I can look at it, and I know that because I've been doing it for a while, and I know to look, and I can say, oh, okay. So, but that's not the beauty of TSM. The beauty of TSM is I say, okay, up here, go to Gathering. This tells me everything I need to make that list of items in the queue. It also tells me where I can get it. So right now on this Gathering tab, I have myself selected as the crafter. If you have multiple crafters, it would give you the option to select them. I have all professions. And then the sources is going to be the priority that TSM gives to where you can get the items. So the first priority I put for items is vendor. Now, none of the items here, it looks like, are vendored items. I'm sorry, the shards are. I need some arboreal shards. So you can only get those from vendors. So it selects vendor for that one. I need 200. I have 510 of them. I need 200 more. Then the next priority is alts. And then if your alt has a guild bank, and then for me, I put the crafts here, the auction house, so on and so forth. And you can change these around. So if I'd rather have the alts first, I could put that there and switch it, and then it'll say, okay, maybe my alts have some arboreal shards that I can just give myself, and then I don't have to go buy them, right? That might even make more sense to do that. I happen to know my alts don't have arboreal shards. I don't keep my inventory that way, so I just have it set this way. You can set it however is good for you. Now, what I would do is I got this list of items and where to get everything, what I have, what I need to get. Now what I can do is open task list. And this is going to open this handy dandy little list here, which shows me all this stuff. It tells me to switch to my alts. I have a couple alts for some of the items. Now, I can let you know these alts, it says log out because the idea is you log out and log into your alt. These are actually a second account. It doesn't handle it super well because I don't need to log out. I'm actually logged in on that account right now. It also doesn't display what my alts necessarily need to give me, right? So very specifically, it doesn't. So it just says, well, I need, pallid bone and stuff up here. I need 169. That's actually the amount I need from the auction house. So one of my alts must have 11 pallid bones sitting on them. That's fine. So just little tidbits you do need to be aware of. So let's go here. Now, some of these items we need from the auction house, so I have to buy them. I can also point out, just if, as you're putting your groups and things together, you can see it says to buy enchanted lightless silk from the auction house. Now, my alt crafts. It's not picking that up, clearly, because it is probably cheaper to craft it. I think the lightless silk amount prices have come down, and I think it's cheaper to craft them, but it's still telling me to buy it, even though it's more expensive. That's okay. I know to check when I'm looking at the auction house which one's going to be cheaper. So we go to the auction house here. We select browse. This is the TSM UI replacing the WoW UI for the auction house. And then what I'm going to do is forget all this. I'm going to go to the task list and I'm going to hit scan all. And it's going to pop everything that I need to buy from the auction house right up here. I just click on the top one and I start hitting buy out. So I need 280 pelts. I need 14 of these guys, the Progenitor Essentia. I need a bunch of Shrouded Cloth. Now, sometimes it does tweak out. It has in here that's good, but sometimes Shrouded Cloth I have a problem with a lot where it won't pop up and I have to go back out and out in. Just little things like that sometimes. All the Desolate Hide, the Pallid Bone, and then I'm just going to go ahead and buy it. It's pretty expensive, actually. I'm going to buy it anyway. So now I bought all those items. Now I see the other things I still need. I need to buy from vendor the arboreal shards. I need to craft 12 of these. Then I know I need to switch over to my alts to get the rest of it. So my alt must have the enchanted callus hide I need, and some of these other items. So I would go to my alt and move them on over. And as I do that, it will get rid of these items. So it says I need to craft some vestiges of the eternal. Let me just craft as many as I can right now. So it's only going to take a few seconds. It looks like I can only do 5, not the full 12 I think it said I need. That's fine. Normally I would get everything together. And you can see since I got those items from the auction house, it says go open your mail because I need those items from the mail. So let's grab those items from the mail. It's going to fill up my inventory. And this is what I do. So what you're looking at is what I would be doing. I just won't be talking. I would just be doing it. So let's go back here. Let's make the rest of the vestiges of the eternal. That's what bumps the legendaries up to rank 7. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1. Awesome. And then we're just going to start crafting. So I'm in my leatherworking profession, so I'm just going to start crafting at the top and hit next. And I believe since I didn't get all our shards, it's not going to let me craft everything, although it might not be until tailoring, but that's okay. So let's just say I've crafted what I wanted there and everything. I switch over to tailoring either way. Craft next. Craft next. So I'm going to craft a couple of these guys. And a couple of hoods. Okay. So now I've crafted all my items. We're going to pretend I've done that. So I got everything in my inventory. I go to the auctioning portion for the auction house. I have my legendary group selected. You'll have whatever group you want to use selected. Run, post, scan. Now this is going to take those operations we set up, apply to them to this group, and then it's going to say, okay, I'm scanning your items. What do I have that I can post to the auction house that fits those parameters we set up? The maximum amount, the minimum amount, if something's not posted, the normal amount. Now, this is where experience is going to do well by you, because I've talked a little bit about the database. The TSM database is fine. It works really well, but it also doesn't always keep up because it does update. I think it's every 5 or 8 minutes. But also just keep in mind, it's an overtime. I don't know exactly what their time frame is, but what I'm talking about here, so I'm going to post these first two. I just hit post, and you can use the macro we set up. I'm not going to post these pants because this is less than I crafted them for. I just know that I crafted them for about 32,000. The market value, the reason the operation still is saying post it, because it's based on the market value, based on what it's been over time here. This just, legendaries move a lot in sometimes very short periods of time. So right now it's 30,000, it might be 45,000 in an hour because someone buys them out and reposts them. It just depends. They move like that. So that's something you got to keep an eye on. Comes with experience. So if you use your macro, just eyeballing these, it looks like the rest of them are good. I know the Grim Robe is a little out of whack right now too, so I'm going to skip that one as well. Boop. And there we go. They're all posted. I just posted all of that stuff. Now I'm going to exit scan. Now here's the part that a lot of people are like, oh, this is so terrible, but I don't see a problem with it. Cancel scanning. Now this is going to scan through that group and say, okay, have you been undercut on anything? Have you posted something that you've undercut yourself or somebody else at, and do you need to cancel it? The answer is yes. There's a bunch of stuff. I've been undercut, plus I posted items. Now keep in mind, when it says cancel auction, you've undercut, I didn't actually undercut myself. I wasn't at the top of the list. I had an item posted. Somebody else undercut me. I ran my post scan first, and it said, hey, somebody else is above you. You need to post it. So I posted. So I did have 2 items set up at the time, but it wasn't just replacing myself at the top. Then I'm going to go to my mailbox, collect all those items I just canceled and any auctions that sold. And then I'm going to go back here. I'm going to rinse and repeat, right? Hit post. Okay, what did I just get from the mail? In the meantime, if somebody posted something that I need to undercut in the evening like this, it's usually a bit faster. So yeah, somebody has. I'm going to skip pants again. I'm going to post these items, everything but the pants in that robe. There, I posted them. I want to cancel scan, right? So this is it. This is the gameplay loop. Cancel scanning, posting items, and then the payoff, of course, is when you get that money in the mail. And it feels really good. It's awesome. So, folks, this is everything. This is the loop. This is how I have my TSM set up. This is how I have all the operations, the groups. This is my gameplay loop. So if you're looking to make money, this is how I do it. Now, I know there's going to be other ways, other variations, other people that do things slightly different. And that's great. I support people making gold any way they can. I hope this helped out. Drop a sub and a like if you enjoyed it and it helped you out. And I'll see y'all next time.